Room tone, take 19.
We did it.
We all have fizzy waters, so we're all going to be burping.
Mm-hmm.
And Haley is wearing the cutest shirt I've ever seen. Is it from Marshall's?
Of course it is.
Cute. It has little flowers embroidered on it. It's so cute.
$12.
Okay, now that the important stuff is out of the way. Hello.
Hi. Nope.
Nope. Nope.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hey. What are we doing?
Can we just do that again? We talked at the same time.
I start with hello, right?
Yes.
Okay.
We just talked.
Oh, I thought I
Let's
started.
go this way.
Okay. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to Hugo Girl, a podcast that we've been doing for over 6 years and still struggle to start a consistent way each time. I am Lori.
I'm Haley.
I'm Amy.
And today we're going to talk about The Diamond Age by Neal Stephenson. A little bit of housekeeping. Any housekeeping from you ladies?
Don't think so.
No. Okay. Well, light housekeeping is that Lori, that's me, Amy, that's Amy, and Kevin, that's Kevin, are going to Armadillo Con in Austin, Texas in September. Boop, boop. And unfortunately, Haley will be traveling somewhere fun.
I'll be in Maine for 2 weeks that month, so I can't do another trip.
That makes sense. Maine for 2 weeks sounds really fun.
She's Septembering in Maine.
I will be on a schooner trip.
I was just going to ask if you're boating.
Yeah, the week before my company's annual retreat, I suppose, is going to be me on the schooner Merry Day out of Camden, Maine.
Oh, wonderful.
From that Tuesday to that Saturday.
Oh, my God.
And then I'll be bumming around the coast of Maine for 2 days until Bark Week starts.
That sounds like so much fun. Anne Michelle Harris, friend of the show, will also be at Armadillo Con. Thanks to Marshall from World Building for Masochists for inviting us.
Hey, Marshall.
Also want to say thanks to listener Clace for the heads up about a bundle of genre cookbooks, which I feel like I've said this out loud before, but it was still in my notes to say again. Maybe I just told you guys. Anyway, he sent us a nice email and was like, hey, Humble Bundle has this thing of like 18 ebook cookbooks. There's a Beetlejuice one.
Aww.
And there's just all kinds of different genre cookbooks. And it was right on time since I'll be on the genre cookbook panel. And so I got that. And I look forward to looking through them. So thanks for that. And thanks to Matthew, who messaged us on Instagram to tell us about a new Moby Dick cocktail bar in New York.
Yeah, I can't wait to go.
Yeah, we're definitely going there. Okay. So, The Diamond Age was published in 1995, and it won the Hugo and the Locus Awards in 1996, and it was also a Nebula finalist. During the early stages of the development of the Amazon Kindle, it was codenamed Fiona as a deliberate reference to the illustrated primer. By the way, do we say primer or primer?
I say primer because I'm an American.
Okay, if we were British, we would say primer.
Probably.
Yeah. Okay, illustrated primer, and as a deliberate reference to Fiona Hackworth, a character in this book. I find it very strange that they called it Fiona. I guess because just Nell is not enough syllables or something.
Yeah, I think maybe Fiona wanted to be the writer or something. So who knows?
Well, that and be like, oh, get your Nell from the movie Nell.
Tay in the wind.
Nell was taken.
Yeah.
I was just like, Fiona is kind of a minor character. I guess she's sort of the MacGuffin that sets all this into motion, I guess.
They wanted a cool name.
I mean, she's the reason it happens.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Although really technically Elizabeth is the reason it happens.
Yeah.
And this is according to a book called The Everything Store by Brad Stone, which is about the rise of Amazon, which I did not read. That was on Wikipedia. I did not read a whole nonfiction book to research this. Surprise! Okay, so the name of the segment is Brief Plot Summary.
Hold on, before we do that, I want to say one thing. I looked up the because when I thought I was DMing, I was looking at some stuff, and one of the things I found was the trophy from the year of this award, the 1996 award, was in LA. Or was in Anaheim, close enough. But the trophy is awesome if you haven't seen it. It's somehow it's very 90s, but it's got like the Hollywood Hills and it's got movie spotlights up on the Hugo Award. It's really, if you haven't seen it, you should go look at it. It's pretty great.
It's cool.
Also, a couple minutes ago when you said you had some light housekeeping, I pictured light housekeeping.
Oh.
You had to like clean the stairs and whatnot.
Yeah, and clean the light lenses.
Yeah.
Do you remember that book, Keep the Lights Burning, Abby? Did you read that when you were a little
I
kid?
recognize that title. I don't think I've read it.
I remember it.
It's a lighthouse keeper kid?
Yeah, why was a little girl alone in the lighthouse, I wonder, as I'm 42 years old?
She needs a primer.
Why did every fairy tale start with a dead mother? These are great questions.
It's so that kids are interested, I guess. What kid wants to read about the grizzled old lighthouse keeper?
Yeah.
I want to read that now.
Yeah.
Fair. Yeah, fair.
Now that I myself am grizzled and old and a lighthouse keeper. Okay. Are we ready for the...
Was that book by that one name children's author? Do you
I have no
know?
idea.
We'll come back to that.
One name. Cher?
No.
Madonna.
Avi? AVI?
Oh, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know.
Godspeed on your plot summary.
Sorry.
Yeah, speed is essential because it ain't brief. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
It's at once long and also mile high and very incomplete. I'm going to do what I can. Okay. The Diamond Age takes place in a near future society in which humanity is subdivided into files, also called tribes, which are basically what they sound like. Fairly insular groups of people self-categorized by shared values, religious or ethnic background, and the like. People who are not members of any file are called Theets, and our main character is a Theet named Nell, who we meet when she is an abused and neglected young child. Nell's story becomes intertwined very early in her life, maybe around the age of 4, with 2 adults, our secondary main characters, a nanotech engineer named John Hackworth, and an actress, also called a Ractor, named Miranda Redpath, who acts remotely in personalized interactive, hence Ractor, virtual scenarios. John Hackworth is a member of the Victorian File, which is a group of people who live as they understand the Victorians to have lived, although they are not shy about technology and whatnot. It's all manners and no feelings and stuff like that. He is commissioned by a Victorian bigshot, Mr. Finkel McGraw, to develop an interactive smart book for Finkel McGraw's granddaughter, Elizabeth, which he hopes will help her develop into a capable and independent thinker. Hackworth invents the book for Elizabeth, but he secretly visits a shadowy kind of black market scientist named Dr. X to create a copy of the book for Hackworth's own daughter, Fiona. The Amazon e-reader. Heading home with his illicit copy of the book, Hackworth is mugged by a group of youths. It turns out one of these youths is our hero Nell's extraordinarily loving but troubled older brother Harv. Harv steals the book and gives it to Nell, who promptly becomes addicted to it like any other toddler with an iPad. Oh, I'm sorry about all this paper rattling. The book interacts with Nell and guides her through her life. However, the book does not just have a mind of its own. What makes it so effective is that most of the characters are voice acted by Miranda, who receives a script that reacts and changes in real time to stories that play out exactly as Nell needs for them to learn and grow. Miranda herself becomes almost addicted to performing for Nell, especially once she realizes that she is essentially raising a child. She performs almost exclusively for Nell for more than a decade before she sets out to try to find Nell in the real world. Hackworth, in the meantime, gets into all kinds of interesting trouble after his theft of the book is discovered. That's what I've got. That's where I'm going to leave it.
Good trouble.
Thanks. And then I'm going to say that I agree with Wikipedia. The Wikipedia section under plot summary has a little alert that says, this article needs an improved plot summary. In particular, ending needed. And I said, well, the book doesn't have an ending, so why does the plot summary need to have an ending? So actually, I agree with Wikipedia, but I don't think it's a valid criticism.
Here.
Okay, anyone want to add anything? Amy, you wrote a plot summary.
Well, I didn't get very far because I checked to make sure I wasn't DM and then I stopped writing it. But I think we should add that that takes you up to about the halfway point of the book.
Yeah.
Yeah. The rest of the book is John Percival Hackworth trying to figure out
What he's doing
and who is manipulating him.
We don't know, neither does he.
And then it follows Nell as she grows up and then goes out to become independent. And then there's a whole uprising in China that you find out about. And then all hell breaks loose.
Yeah, it gets into politics with like a rebellion or a revolution in China, I guess.
Yeah.
It's very Boxer Rebellion.
Yeah.
I guess that's it. That's the high points, right? There's a lot of nanotechnology. That's probably the only other thing you need to know. There's a lot of nanotechnology running around in this book that tends to control a lot of the plot.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to get into the plot without starting to get into just general discussion.
It is. And I saw a lot of people complaining that the book didn't have a plot. I'm not sure I agree with that, but I don't think it's about the plot, though. I think there is lots of plot, but there's more setting and ideas, but there's still, that's why it's like 700 pages.
It's almost like
everything's in there.
A book of short stories, because like they have very drastically different tones. Like when Nell is a little girl learning versus the drummer stuff versus the
tone shift
stuff.
When we come into part 2 and the drummers tunnels was real jarring. But we can get to that later.
We'll get to that. All right. Let's go to goodies from Goodreads. And I would like to report that this book has a 4.16 on Goodreads, and breaking 4 for any of these books to break 4 is an accomplishment. Guys, what do you guys got?
It was hard to find humorous
Agree.
ones, but I like this one. Kate Blue gave it 2 stars and said, "Too confusing to read during the holiday season." To which I would say it's too confusing to read at any season.
So this isn't mine, but one I saw said impossible to read.
Yeah. People had very strong opinions about this book.
Here's a smattering of a couple. My favorite actually came from TV Tropes, my new favorite thing to look at when I'm preparing for these podcasts now.
Oh, I bet there's so many for this.
So TV Tropes had this to say. This is sort of just about Stevenson, not about this book, but I think it applies. His more recent books, and I also think it's applicable for this book in particular, his more recent books also tend to be practical arguments in favor of electronic books, supplanting paper copies, read long, with Cryptonomicon coming in at well over 900 pages and Anathema at nearly the same length before the many glossaries and appendices.
Yeah.
This book is also very long. Although the paperback copy I found to be physically manageable, but it's a lot. The other thing I wanted to say was that Guinevere gave it 1 star, and I mainly am pulling out her review because she called it an endless stream of ridiculous invented techno jizz spewed all over the page.
Oh, no.
Which was just very well put.
I have Wilmer gave it 1 star, and this is an excerpt of a longer review in which he discloses that this is his first science fiction novel.
Oh, goodness.
So
I saw this one. I was
probably
like, I'm not
not a
reading
good
this review.
intro.
Yeah.
And so I plucked out this little gem. There's character development of the little girl Nell, but again, why should I care? This book failed to give me any reason to get invested in any of the characters. Say what you will about this book overall, but I can't imagine not being invested in like this little girl being basically living a victimhood in a slum. And then like she gets this incredible tool, and what's going to happen? Like I can't imagine. Even if you think it's too long, I can't imagine.
If it's his first science fiction book, I bet he was like, I was promised robots and jetpacks.
Oh yeah, where's all the pew pew pew?
Yep.
And then there's another one. This is quite long, and I actually just thought it was really good. If I could be indulged,
Please.
Mikhail gave it 1 star. Some of it is also pretty funny. World building is roughly a 4.5. Plot and characterization starts at 3.5 and wanders down toward 2-ish. Unfortunate implications is a 1. Averages out to a 2. In order, Neal Stephenson is one of the master world builders, and Diamond Age does it quite well. Lots of discussion of nanotechnology, lots of discussion of cultural groupings, etc. This is done very well. Characterization and plot. I vaguely felt like I was reading 2 different books. It starts off with 1 set of characters and a solid, if not amazing, plot. Then around the halfway point, it just goes off the rails. Characters vanish into the ether, plots get misplaced, people cease acting for rational reasons. Nell leaves a safe and loving environment to seek her fortune as a ... porn script writer?
Yeah.
What? I confess to increasingly skimming the end of the book to try and figure out where the plot threads went. Unfortunate implications. First off, characters get raped, and this is made a plot point. Second, it goes for a perception of China that has more than a bit of yellow peril to it. Honestly, I feel like if you ended the book at the halfway point, it'd be a solid 3.5 star read, maybe a 4. As is, I can see why people like it, but it seems to me to be a triumph of ideas over plot, and the unfortunate implications, which is capitalized, were sketchy in 1995 and are just flat out unacceptable now. I really liked that review.
That's good.
Or more concisely, Rohit says,
Oh, I saw this one.
this pathetic drivel is what happens when a white trash author with not even a 6th grade education tries to be over smart.
Oh, dear.
Even though this man has a whole college degree.
Yeah, also not nice to say white trash.
No, it's not nice.
Quick jab from Joe.
Oh, yeah.
So this book is addressed in Joe Walton's History of the Hugos. And Joe said, this always struck me as 2/3 of a really good book.
Yeah, she's right.
And then she went on to say it's relentlessly inventive and exciting and doing science fictional things that hadn't been done before.
Science
All
fictional
true.
things. I like that.
All true.
Sometimes when I hear about her not liking a book as much, I just imagine her. She's like, I'm just going to read Saitine again.
I got to read Saitine as a palate cleanser.
Yeah.
There is a very good episode of the podcast A Meal of Thorns, which is also a co-finalist of ours for Best Fan Cast this year, where the host, Casella, and his guest, our Space President, Arkady Martine,
Aw.
discuss their love of CJ Cherry. And I listened to the whole thing with a little smile on my face, because it makes me really happy that people love CJ Cherry so much. It's funny. It's like one of those things where I can be like, I love listening to people explain why they love something that I hate.
It helps. It helps.
I also have only read the one book, so if I read a different one, maybe I would like it.
I don't recall hating Saitine. It was just a lot.
I recall that.
Maybe I need to re-listen to what we said.
I mean, we'll have to read Down Below Station at some point.
yes, we will. Yes, we will.
I hear this refrain in my head of Haley saying 1 million children's birthday parties are in this book.
There are. are. Oh my
But
God.
I recommend that episode of Meal of Thorns. That is a very good podcast, and that I really did enjoy that episode.
There's also a children's birthday party in this book.
Yay.
It starts with Elizabeth's like 5th birthday, and they
That's
grow
right.
an island out of the sea, and there's a
Yes.
centaur, which
And
is
they
some
take
pony
the
prattle.
airship out there. That's exactly
That first chapter is so good.
That is
There's
a
2 pony prattles
prattle,
in this book.
and I forgot about it. Yeah, I have the.
3 technically, because there's a centaur, there's some
Chevelines.
regular
Actual
horses,
horses.
and there's the Chevelines.
You're getting ahead of us.
Sorry, let's go.
General
Let's
discussion.
go.
Okay, I have just a couple of question prompts and then a lot of bullet points. So this will be very freeform. Everybody just say whatever they want to say. But my first prompt is, what do we like about this world and what do we not like about this world? Because I think that it's got some good facts and some bad facts, like a real world.
Well, it's what is it? Ambiguity and contradiction and ambiguity is one of the themes of the book.
Is that a department at Lumen?
Yes. Contradiction and ambiguity and morality and hypocrisy all pop up in this book, but you're not intelligent unless you can deal with contradiction and ambiguity.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll know by the end of this podcast if we're intelligent people by whether we can deal with the contradiction and ambiguity.
I give up.
Yeah, I like the steampunk aspects.
He kind of invented it. According to TVTropes.com, he was kind of playing with steampunk, but it didn't even really exist yet at that point.
Yeah.
Which was, I thought, pretty interesting.
And it's not quite steampunk because it's
Yeah.
definitely futuristic, but whenever a book starts with like neo-Victorians and a
Yeah.
blank,
I think that's a really good point.
I think it's where it came from.
You have this very, very advanced technology and also people walking around saying "milady."
The description of the Gwen's workout gear
yeah.
was
Oh
the
my
best steampunk part of this whole book. It's like all this workout gear that has like Baroque sculptures on it and stuff.
Well, there's also like in the mid-90s, early to mid-90s, there's Back to the Future Part 3, a progenitor of steampunk. There is The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr., also kind of steampunky.
That show's so fun.
Yeah, I think that just the very specific juxtaposition of Victorian and tech in this book,
Yeah.
like very deliberate. I think that's kind of where it built out from.
The nanosites, there's lots of nanotechnology. I think the most interesting part of this book is when matter becomes freely available, how that destroys politics.
Yeah.
So like if everybody can just go to a little matter compiler and get all the food they need, maybe not like gourmet food, but they'll live and they can make clothes, that would solve lots of problems that governments usually fill. So.
Yeah, and that was the thing that I liked about this was the matter compilers and that everyone's like very basic needs are met, but at the same time, you have the feed, so you don't have resource scarcity. So you don't need to just be like, here's a bologna sandwich and a lumpy mattress. Like they could choose to provide better for everyone, and they don't.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that this thing exists, and so there's no need for people to starve to death. But we're also not taking good care of people. And
It's basic care.
It reminds me
yeah.
of-
I mean, well, not even really in some ways.
I saw a guy online talk recently about how he has the belief that socialism should be for the necessities and capitalism should be for luxuries. And that's kind of what this is. Like
Yeah.
everyone gets water and, a ham and cheese sandwich and oatmeal for breakfast. But like if you want to go buy a sports car, you've got to like earn that or whatever. So
That was my favorite part of this book too, is just sort of the how people are grouped, because countries don't really exist anymore. Like, so people have their groups that are loosely based around ethnic identities, but then there are other groups that have nothing to do with ethnic identities. And so I was curious, like, so there's this file called the Nippon file, which is Japanese.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, are people who are not ethnically or Japanese joining this thing or not? Like, there's this New Atlantan group, and it doesn't really say, but I'm curious how many people of color are in it. Like, one of the main characters, or one of the more or less main characters, is a person of color, and he's in this file. But it would be an interesting exercise to like figure out, or ask him, I guess, if he intended for all of these to still be loosely, race-based or country-based, but they're not. There are no real countries anymore.
For example, the drummers are just all about orgies.
Right.
yeah. But then there's the one group and they'll take anybody.
Oh, yeah.
Is that the ones where they're only allowed to have one book?
Yeah.
They were communist. It was a communism.
They were
one.
like senderos or something. I forget the name. But there's probably a lot of Chinese in the Celestial Kingdom or whatever. New Atlantis seems like it's probably more American or British influence, but which could have a hodgepodge of races and ethnicities, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if it, it's still necessarily geographically isolated,
Yeah,
and so it's probably going to fall along lines of more or less who was living there at the time that governments sort of fell.
Well, the Celestial Kingdom one seemed very specific to China, but like New Atlantis has groups all over the world, it sounded like.
Yeah,
Oh, that's true.
There's like New
there are little
Atlantis, like Seattle.
enclaves.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
I don't know. So I was just interested in that idea that people would start, because people are always going to want, like we are a people, human beings want a community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just an interesting exercise in how would we form communities if governments no longer mattered.
Well, and that's where I can't imagine a world without capitalism, because I'm like, who's paying for their land?
Well, apparently
Like,
neither can Neal Stephenson.
I mean, I think even Ursula Le Guin has a quote about that. Like, it's just hard to imagine it because it's like so all encompassing over the entire world. But yeah, I mean, who's paying the rent on New Chusan? I don't know.
Yeah.
I wish that there was a map in this book, and I scoured the internet for one because I was like, where are the least territories and where's this?
Yeah.
Where's Pudong?
I ended
agree
up
with
just
you.
looking up I looked at a map of Shanghai and looked up some pictures of Shanghai to like try and figure out what they were talking about. So the Bund is real.
Yeah.
Parts of what they describe in this book are real parts of Shanghai. So it was kind of helpful to orient it. But basically, New Chuzan is just an island they created out of the sea, so it doesn't exist on the map. You know,
Everything felt very close to everything
Yeah,
else
I think
in the
that's the
book.
point.
Like, I knew that there was a place in Seattle, but then also sometimes we're in Shanghai, and nothing feels far away from anything else. And it reminded me of reading Game of Thrones, and sometimes it would take half a book to get to the wall, and sometimes you would turn the page, and they're like, "We left from Winterfell, now we're at the wall."
Yeah.
And so I just didn't have a good sense of how people got from point A to point B, how quickly that was.
And there's multiple times when Nell or whoever else is like, oh, and I can see X territory from the window, so it's got to be close.
I can see Russia from my house.
my impression was that New Chuzan was just like right across the river or right across an expanse of the sea from the China mainland.
Yeah.
So they could cross bridges, and then there were other islands that had popped up with other enclaves that all had bridges. Into
For sure, yeah. Some of them were obviously you were shown how they were connected, but it never felt like anybody was taking very long to get anywhere. And maybe those diamond floorboarded airships are just really fast. I don't know.
Well, they talk about having sleeping berths in those, so they definitely took overnight.
Yeah.
Like when he traveled with Fiona, and when he traveled up, he being John Percival Hackworth, he travels around a little bit. So you see him in an overnight to Seattle, and you see him in an overnight back to Shanghai at some point, or at least one night. It's hard to say, I guess, how long.
I think Stevenson wanted to save his words for listing out the ingredients of sauces.
but
I have all
part.
that. I typed every single one into my fantastical foods.
Me too.
I did not, because I don't want to read 800 words.
I will read it aloud.
The thing I liked about that, which is that it helped me understand the feed, because I was like, wait, why is there a gas station in this hot sauce? And then I was like, oh, it's just because anything that the feed has access to can become a Worcestershire sauce.
That's worth mentioning too. So these matter compilers that I assume are in everybody's house, kind of like a microwave, instead of having like an oil or a gas or an
You mean a
electricity line.
replicator from Star Trek?
Yeah. So there's tubes that go into your house that have, I guess, just raw atoms that can make whatever you want in the matter replicator, which is cool.
Yeah, it is. And
idea.
that's why people who are living in poverty can get basic necessities. They can go to a public matter compiler and be like, I need antibiotics or I need water, and they can get those basic necessities out of that. But again, that goes back to, in my opinion, it seems like then scarcity is very artificial. I mean, scarcity is artificial, though. Like, we throw away enough food in this country to feed everybody who needs to be fed. So maybe it's doing what science fiction does, and it's showing me a mirror.
Yeah. I wonder,
But to answer your question, I did like the world in this book. I thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's very
I meant
it's very suffocating, though.
I meant, yes. Oh, I meant, like, that's a good way to put it. What aspects of it do you think are good versus not good is kind of what I meant. But I think if you liked it and thought it was interesting, that's a good answer too.
Living where they live next to the, like, it sounds like New Chuzan and like the coast of China is very billboard happy.
Oh God,
and it sounded terrible.
Oh, it's like Tokyo today. I mean, there's nothing but ads, or Times Square.
Or like
I mean,
beginning of Blade Runner.
Yeah.
Yeah, it felt more like a Blade Runner-y type like oppressive ad situation than like.
But only at certain times. Like the very first chapter is like more. I think it's more cyberpunk than Neuromancer, and then you get into like when Nell's in school, and it's like a British Harry Potter type book. And then sometimes you're in an Asian tea house, and then sometimes you're in Seattle. So there's like so many different vibes.
Well, and I think the ads are in the poorer communities, which checks out. You know, the Victorians, they can create this kind of artificially insulated, oh, we have this greenery and we have our horses and our garden plots and our dog dog grid. I couldn't figure out what
Yeah,
it was. Is that just where the corgis ran around? I don't know.
I wasn't sure.
But yeah, they've created this very kind of pastoral, idyllic community because they can.
Yeah.
They have the resources to. But I think in these in the poorer communities, they're just bombarded with ads. And there was that part where they say that sometimes you can get like basically the equivalent of a TV receiver installed in your head, but then sometimes you get a virus and you'll just see ads.
Yep.
And that reminded me of this movie that Kevin and I watched a year or two ago called Strawberry Mansion, and people start getting ads in their dreams.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I didn't super love the movie, but then after reading this and thinking about it, I was like, maybe I should give it another try.
Yeah.
I feel
Also,
like it's right around the corner.
Also, Minority Report has the same thing. You like walk into the store and things were beamed into your eyes like, hello, Haley,
God.
tank tops are on sale or whatever.
Hello, Haley. Short sleeve patterned button ups are on sale at Marshall's.
You know I'm going to buy one. Yeah.
Haley would be like, thank God. Give me an arrow.
I mean, I guess in a way, it's not different than your little algorithm feeding you up Instagram ads.
Yes.
It's like,
I mean,
here's what this person likes. Please go buy this. And then you do.
So much of this book is very prescient in that sense.
So, what do we think about the Chinese factions? We've got the modern good guys kind of versus the old-timey bad guys, the Celestial Kingdom bad guys. But then I was thinking about it. We've also got these old-timey white guys who seem distinct in that, I mean, I say white. I think most of the Vickies are probably white people.
Yeah.
They don't seem like they want to foist their way of life on anyone, but they also control the feed and hoard resources for themselves. So I think in that respect, they are also kind of bad guys. So what did you think about these competing factions?
I couldn't get a handle on, I think in order to answer that, I have to get some clarity on something because I know that the Victorians or the whoever they are, New Atlantans have one of the sources is in their enclave.
Yes.
Source Victoria.
But it seemed like there were other feeds
Yes.
elsewhere. So I couldn't tell if those feeds were coming from the same source or if there were other sources that
I think there are multiple sources and they seem to be concentrated in the more powerful file communities.
So there weren't any that were controlled by a quote unquote Chinese file.
I don't know the answer to that. I don't
either.
remember, but I know like the goal is for there to be the seed, the feed and seed.
Yeah. I could not tell you the difference between the Chinese factions.
So
They weren't explained well to me.
it seems like generally speaking, there's one that's sort of pro-Western and one that's not.
That's right. So the
Yeah.
ones that we see as kind of the good guys are the ones that are more Western. And then the army that comes in at the end sort of abruptly, which is interesting throughout the book, they're talking about the war.
You
and I
mean
was
the
kinda
Mouse
like,
Army?
No, I'm talking about the Righteous Fists.
Oh, that army.
And then the Mouse Army defeats them.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So they show up, and it seems to me that they're like considered this reactionary force, and they want to force everyone to live the way they want to live. And I think that's where that review that I read is talking about the unfortunate implications, and the thing that kind of has more, as he said, has more than a bit of yellow peril to it, because they're like, oh no, like the Western fear that they're gonna take over and they're gonna make us live the way they live.
Yeah, I just don't know what the Fists of Righteous Fury are all about.
It seems to me like they just want to kick out non-Western people. That's what it seemed like to me.
You mean Western people?
Sorry.
Yeah.
They want to kick out Western people
But there wasn't
and Chinese people who are in line,
Westernized.
aligned with,
Mhm.
Westernized.
Is there a prominent fist that I missed in this book?
Dr. X.
I thought Dr. X was aligned with the Fists, and then his
Yeah.
ultimate goal was to establish the seed, which to me sounded like not a bad thing. It sounded
Yeah.
like decentralizing the sources. So that-
Contradiction and ambiguity,
or
baby.
the contradiction and ambiguity.
The whole seed thing.
Are they good? Are they bad? It's confusing.
Yeah, I think honestly, I think nobody is anything.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like we sympathize, I think, more with the people we're being served up because we have gotten to know them.
Mhm.
But I'm sure there are a lot of very legit grievances on the part of the people on the
Yeah.
interior of this
It
country.
just
So
seems for it to be a big part of the ending, it's not really the main focus of the first 2/3 of the book, so I was not invested.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think that's probably what Jo is talking about, where she's like, it's most of a good book, and they do make these sort of offhand references to the war, and I was like,
Which war?
I don't really understand what's going on, and then at the end, it's all war, like the last 75 pages.
10 years have passed since the beginning of the book and the end of the book. So I sort of excused this in my head. I don't know if it's worth excusing. It's not great writing it, but that, escalated in the time in the gap of time that we are.
I don't disagree with you. I just think that the ending feels sort of rushed and very different. But I don't
100% agree.
I don't disagree with you though about the fact of a war that's escalated kind of off camera, or like to the extent that maybe our characters have the privilege to not be affected by it until they abruptly are.
Yeah. It just came out of nowhere for me, and I was like, did I miss something?
Yeah, no, it definitely just sort of drops on you.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, and like that's not what I was investing myself in the book. Like I was more into Nell and all that. Like I think Nell should be more in this book for a book about the primer. So
Dr. X and Fang talk about it. So Judge Fang, when he sort of defects from the Coastal Republic to the Celestial Kingdom, that's when you kind of get introduced to the idea that there's this faction issue.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the war itself, like suddenly everybody being attacked on the coast was like,
I think even if there was a couple pages about life in the Coastal Republic more explicitly, I would have understood it better.
Well, I think we're supposed to give a shit because of the children on the boat.
Well, I did not plug that into the Mouse Army until I read about it on Wikipedia. I was like, where? And then I also thought they were actual literal mice because I am Amelia Bedelia. Because half the book,
well, they were.
Well, exactly,
they were.
And I did some skimming of this book sometimes because it was so long, and it's confusing. So
It is confusing. I told you I read it twice, and I think that's when I made some of these.
You read it twice?
Well, I was telling Haley I read it once, and when? I'm telling you, girl. So I started reading it, and I was taking notes, and I realized it was taking me too long to take notes and read it, so I just read it.
Yeah,
and then I went back and skimmed it to take notes, but I ended up reading a lot of it again.
Incredible.
Yeah, that could not be me.
The second time through was not a word for word reading, But that's when I made a lot of these connections because I went back and answered a lot of my own questions when I went back the second time. So when Fang goes onto the boat, he calls them little mice. He talks about. And
I don't remember him saying
that
little
leaks
mice.
into the primers, and then it leaks into all the primers because my theory is that they're all connected, and then. That's what leads, and
everyone has sexually transmitted nanotech, so everything seeps. It's all connected,
and
man.
Fang is caning that one guy because he wants to find out about these smuggled babies, and that's when you learn about the problems on the interior, and that's when you get led to the kids on the boat, and so that's how you learn about the problems on the interior of China is through all that.
Now I remember that, but there's just so many details in this book.
I know.
There are, and I was definitely most invested in just, is Nell going to be okay? Yeah. Unlike Wilmer on Goodreads, I was very invested and cared about outcomes for her.
So this is one of the most interesting parts of the book to me because we care very much about Nell, right? And it's that old thing where it's really easy to care about one person you're presented with, but when you are presented with a statistic, it is much harder.
50,000 babies.
So these 2,000 babies or 50,000 babies on the ship, you're kind of like,
I did care about the babies.
We did care about the babies, but obviously you gloss right past it because we don't get to know any of them.
No, that's true.
But I think it's there's no easy answer on how to take care of a bunch of people, right? And that's what we have is like how do we manage all the human beings on this earth? And people just have different opinions on that, and then they get in a fight.
No, I think that's a really good point about it's easy to care about Nell.
Yeah. And it made me kind of feel squicky because I was like, do we think Nell, like obviously we're getting to know Nell, so we want her to be okay. But is it also because she's white? I don't know. I have to ask myself internally about that. Do I care more about her because she's white?
If she had been presented as an Asian child, I would have loved her just the same.
I hope that's true.
I don't think I knew that she was white necessarily for a long part of the book. I think once she was in the Victorian town, whatever. Yeah. I think they described her enough that I was like, oh, it sounds like she's white, but I don't know that I knew that.
I assumed she was white, but I guess that's a good point. Maybe it says something else about me that I assumed she was white.
Yeah, well,
but I think since she got so wrapped up with the Victorians, I think that's why I associated her with white.
I also was not sure that I thought too much about race in the ways that we think about it in this book. Like I don't know that. Did they ever talk about anyone being white? Like the concept of whiteness?
No, I don't think so.
And they didn't describe anybody. I don't think anyone described as black. I mean, they described people as African or said they were a member of a file that was African.
We got some descriptions of the Ashanti people when they were coming after Bud. But
and Finkel McGraw is half Korean or something.
Yeah. But I just didn't I didn't feel like I got a ton of racial identifiers.
It's because she has, they describe her hair at one point.
Raven hair, though. It's just black hair.
No, she wasn't the one with raven hair. That was Elizabeth.
Oh.
I
just reread it. Sorry.
I guess Haley and I just don't see color.
I really...
Nell has blonde hair, Fiona has red hair, and Elizabeth has black hair.
When I read books, it's just like words. I don't see like a face.
I am actually quite bad at picturing people,
Yeah,
so I picture them as
same.
sort of like
Same.
taper candles moving through the world. But
Mine's just the idea of a person. Like I can't even describe it, but I'm not like this blonde-haired girl that looks like baby Jodie Foster or something.
I think her blonde hair was mentioned at some point. And that's
I think
why
you're
I
right.
latched onto that.
I think you're right.
I mean, there's definitely an argument you can make anytime you have a book that deals with Asian people and white people, what's going on. So, for sure. I found that I stopped caring about Nell once she went to school. I was very invested when she was being like actively abused because I was very concerned. But by the time she went to school, I was like, okay, she's got a book. She got a book. She got a book.
She has good grown-ups.
Yeah, for the most part.
But then she went and became a porn
To
writer.
seek her fortune as a porn screenwriter.
Because she knows about it. She can sell it.
I wasn't sure what the end game was there. I mean, I know she was looking for Miranda, but I was like, is this how you find her?
But she wasn't looking for Miranda yet. She didn't even become aware
She
of the
wasn't
fact of a
looking for
Miranda
Miranda
until
yet.
she was already a porn writer. I think it was a moment of necessity. Like she was walking around on the Bund and she didn't have anywhere to go. And so she's like, I saw this name somewhere else and I know what the deal is. So I'm going to go in here and look like I'm busy. And then she just applied for a
that's
job.
right. That's
I don't
right.
know if she really meant for that to be where she landed, but that's just where she landed.
When it comes to Miranda and Nell, I have to take Miranda's word for it that she raised Nell, because when I was reading the stories written in a different font, Miranda is acting or telling a story. Is she seeing her face? Like I want to know how it was reacting.
Yeah, I don't know what Miranda sees on her end. I have no idea.
I think she just sees words.
Yeah.
And then she's basically voice acting.
But you don't think she has like a green screen where she sees anything? Mm-mm. What about when she's on like Murder on the Orient Express and she's acting with a cast?
That sounded like it was a different situation. Like they were paying for a more interactive.
But I just mean on her end, do you think that she was seeing anything?
My impression was that she saw words, like what the primer was telling her to say.
Well, I really liked their relationship, and I was glad when Miranda said, I'm raising a child, because from very early in the book, I was like, it sounds like Mr. Finkel McGraw just wants this book to do the child rearing. Like, you could just raise your child to be a free thinker. You don't have to.
Yeah.
You don't have to go to all this nanotech trouble.
I don't think he anticipated it was going to go like that. So like that's later on he's talking to Carl Hollywood about the books. I know. And
Carl Hollywood, who wears a cowboy hat.
Yeah. See, he talks about Nell's bills for this book, and he's like, they did not anticipate anybody would interact with it that much. Like they thought it was going to be much more like a Kindle kind of situation, I think. But what I love about Miranda is that she's the fairy godmother. Everything in this book can be kind of reduced down to fairy tale tropes.
Oh, really?
That is a fairy godmother.
That's one of my favorite ones. She's the fairy godmother for Nell.
You're absolutely right.
But in what way?
She swoops in and kind of saves her. Like she's the one that I think she can push the book, I think, in certain directions.
Yeah, absolutely.
To tell Nell like to leave the room, and then I think everything Nell's doing with or everything Miranda's doing with Nell through that book is basically like, I'm going to help you help yourself, which is what your fairy godmother does. So that's how I read her. I don't know.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. But I think that Hackworth fully expected the book to raise his child, and I think that this book made a really astute point about Hackworth, and I don't think I wrote down the exact quote, but I remember him saying something along the lines of, he loved Fiona so much that he was basically unable to be in the moment with her because he was so worried about her future that he wanted her to have this book. And it's like, your child is right here, right now. You could just parent her. But instead, he throws everything, all his time and attention into creating this book to give her the kind of experience that he wants for her instead of just doing that himself. And how sad is that? And then he missed her whole life because of it. He missed her whole life because of this work. And so is like a lot of other parents, but he's not just going to the office every day. He's trapped in a drummer orgy for a decade. Yeah. But still, because of these choices, he's missed her childhood.
But interestingly, he does react with her book from the drummer tunnel. So he is Miranda for her in a way.
In a way. But she's also aware that he's not there for the PTA and the scraped knee.
Yeah.
And also, he doesn't really remember it.
No.
So he missed out.
I think that's one of the most interestingly complicated parts of this book is John, Gwen, and Fiona. Because how much does John deserve? How much does Gwen deserve? How much does Fiona deserve? Or what did they deserve besides what they got, right? Like John Percival Hackworth does this one bad thing, and then it spirals. And he ends up sort of he ends up in this drummer tunnel, but not really he's doing bad things, but not really by choice.
What's the
But
one
he
bad
did
thing,
make
though?
a choice.
Yeah,
and that's what led him there.
Is it just stealing the book? That seems like
copying the book that he created. I feel like is a minor infraction.
Exactly. So he ends up with this horrible sentence for this one minor infraction. Although it does say in the book that they really a lot of the judicial system in this book is like protecting people's economic interests. So technically, if you're stealing IP, I guess that could be like,
Oh, you're right.
especially in the stanotech world.
They consider that a really, really bad thing to do.
Yeah.
But then when he goes to the drummer orgy, it's not only punishment, but it's also for a reason.
Yeah, Dr. X sends him down there to basically use the huge drummer brain computing system to create the seed. And so he's sent down there for Dr. X's reasons.
I'm really glad you read this.
I had to read it twice.
Thank you for your
Please
service.
understand I did not know this the first way through.
I read all these words, but like it's just so hard to know what was going to be important or
It's
not.
really confusing because because he sets all this up and then not all of it gets tied up well. So it's really hard to keep the thread of what he's trying to do.
For a long time, I thought that the boats full of little Chinese baby girls were never coming back. Like, I had read hundreds of pages and not heard anything about them. And I was like, what about the babies? Are they okay? Are they still out there floating? What's going on? And then abruptly they come back as mice.
What happened to Tequila?
I guess she just died.
Yeah. That was
What
the
happened to
hardest-
Constable Moore?
That was the hardest part of this book is to read, just like the horrible abuse from
it was
these boyfriends.
terrible. It was truly terrible. And I initially, when the first incident of abuse was reported, which at least it was like reported in the sense where you know exactly what happened, but you didn't read what was happening. So I appreciated that. But I read it and I sat it down for a minute and I was like,
Oh no.
Yeah. And it kept happening. It's like, and then there's another boyfriend, and then another. And
I mean, unfortunately, I think that is an experience that a not insignificant number of people have had for a variety of reasons. The book does not look kindly on. I keep wanting to say Tequila.
Tequila.
Tequila. You remember Tequila?
Tequila, oh yeah.
She was on that dating show, Shot of Love.
One of the first TV bisexuals.
Oh, that's right.
That's right.
Shot of Love with Tequila. And she would say, "You've got a shot at love. Are you interested?" And then offer them a shot. Man, the VH1 dating shows,
I miss it.
they were weird. It was a Flavor of Love spinoff. Anyway, the book is not kind to Tequila.
Well, she should have acted right. I don't know.
I mean, I don't disagree with you. But every time she
Again,
tries
it's
to do the right
complicated.
thing, she gets her face pummeled in.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. This book is all about like ambiguity and contradiction.
Ambiguity and contradiction, man.
Yeah. I do wonder what happened to her. Also, justice for Harv.
Justice for Harv.
Is he dead in the sanatorium?
I think
He's gonna die.
Yeah, because he's got like the disease from the nanonites in his lungs.
Yeah, he dies of consumption in the book. He basically has like black lung, I think.
So that was interesting because the nanobots can heal you, but then they can also apparently kill you because they collect in your little lungs.
Well, yeah, they're like detritus.
won't kill each other.
Yeah, it's like dead nanobites.
Yeah. Called toner.
This is one of the many times when the primer and real life kind of do this weird meshy thing.
So that's my soap stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why
Things
I
keep
stayed
lining
confused.
up in a way where
is
I'm like,
confusing. Yeah.
how did something happen in the primer that prepared her for the thing that was immediately
I got a
going to
list,
happen?
baby.
Well, that's why I almost wonder if it's like Ready Player One and then it's like VR almost. Because if she's just like kids don't sit and just read books. I'm sorry.
Also,
Yeah.
she read this thing for like 15 years. But it has real paper. So how long is this book?
Oh, it has real
That
paper.
is smart paper, though, doesn't
She
it?
can turn pages.
Yeah.
I can only imagine but she talks about flipping back to the beginning of the book and rereading parts of it. It's
Yeah.
like, so there are real words in this book or else.
But it was written differently. It was written on a age-appropriate reading level when she went back to the beginning. It's smart paper.
So then there's speakers in
good
it.
point, good
So then,
I have no idea.
yeah, because that's why
Maybe she has nanobots.
There must be, because she doesn't have technology
Oh, and she's-
implants.
She's definitely talking to it and talking to Miranda.
yeah, and like at age 4, maybe she couldn't read. I mean, she
it
wasn't.
taught
Oh no,
her
it
to
talks
read,
about
yeah.
teaching her to read, and there are definitely parts of it where she talks about how she wasn't reacting with it. It was just she was just reading it. So so at times it's definitely just a book.
The older she was, I think, the more interactive.
Well, Miranda disappears, so that's the other part of it.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
So something else, somebody or something else is reacting with her after Miranda's gone, but it's not the same. It's not as
So then,
much.
do we think she loved Miranda?
Yeah.
I
Well,
think so.
after she figured out who the
Once
hell
she
Miranda
realized
was.
that this is one person who's been
Yeah.
doing this, then
Also,
yeah, I think
she
so.
rescues Miranda with a magical kiss, like in the fairy tale.
She sure does.
Bites her right in the face.
And then we've got some Wizard of Oz in here.
We sure do. And apparently, Judge Fang is based on a real book tradition in China
Yeah.
that was then co-opted by some white guy to make books called Judge D. And he is a Confucian judge, and he was based on that.
Oh,
Yeah.
Fun facts with
Fun
Amy
facts-
Sally.
Fun facts with Amy Sally.
Let's see. What do we think about the treatment of women and girls in this book?
Mixed bag.
Mixed bag.
Contradiction, and ambiguity.
I have a question for you. How is this book very different from Wind Up Girl? Because there's a lot of similarities, I feel
Well,
like.
we don't have to watch anybody get fucked with a bottle. So there's
Well, but we
that.
see more than one rape scene several times. So
Yeah, I don't love what happens with rape in this book. We're going to get to that during the
I
Rogers
think
moments,
that
but
there are 1 million pages in this book, and there's sexual violence on like 5 to 7 of them. And I think the proportion in Wind Up Girl is different.
that's true. That's true.
We also, I mean, it's been so long since I read Wind Up Girl, but I feel like we don't see as much triumph for that character. Emiko, I think is her
That's
name. I mean,
true,
at the end, she's got her independence. Of course, everything's been flooded and she's like paddling away on a boat, I think. But I just feel like every day of her life is horrible. And Nell has this escape.
I'll also say it's not as graphic in this book.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's there, and I have quibbles with it even being there and how it's used, but it
is not
comparison to Wind
graphic.
Up Girl, it's not graphic.
Yeah, but
I think I
There's
felt
still
like
a lot of thinking about it.
in Wind Up Girl.
Yeah, no,
I mean, there is stuff in this book, though, that I was irate about. I mean, we might as well just go ahead and talk about it. When Hackworth was heading to the dramatis personae with his daughter, and then she jumps out of the boat.
Girl.
Then she gets back in the boat.
Girl.
yeah.
And he's like, oh, she didn't hug me because she could tell I was horny for her. I guess all 16-year-old girls know about that. What?
Why do you have to put it in there?
There was a scene between him and her, and there was a scene between Constable Moore
Yep.
and Nell, where I was like, why are we hitting on our daughters? Like, why are we doing
Constable
this?
Moore says to her, I bet in a few years I'll wish I were decades younger. Sir,
And don't cut your hair because you got to stay hot,
Yeah.
even though you're only 12 right
I'm
now.
going to be horny for you when you're 16 or
So
17.
weird.
Yeah. I mean, I
weird.
think that obviously Wind Up Girl is much worse, but like for me, it was the multiple rapes, and then when you get to her becoming a porn writer, it's like, I wanted more from this girl.
I know.
Yeah, I mean, she is still very young, so there's lots of time to grow.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I thought that was silly, but I wasn't necessarily like irate about that because a lot of people, she went into that building for safety.
Yeah.
And then she was like, I can work here. And it is not unusual for people to go into some kind of work that they might not otherwise do for safety reasons. Or they might, I mean, she might have chosen that. She might have been like, oh, this is easy. I can do this job. But we saw her go into it motivated by, I need a safe place. And she went in there thinking that would be a safe place. And then it wasn't.
Why did she leave the boarding school to begin with?
I'm not super
It seemed like she had like a nice setup. So I was confused by her motivation leaving.
Well, part of the theme in here is that these primers are supposed to be making these girls question what they want, right? And not just settle for what they're being given.
Yeah.
And assume that what they're being taught is correct. And so I think it was sort of I think it's supposed to be a culmination of that, I guess.
I mean, that's a good answer, but
But I don't know. I mean, she also, no, I mean.
Well, I wonder if she was just like, I don't have a long-term future in this community. This is not for me and I'll never truly belong here. And I just want to go find my own way.
But she doesn't say that. She says she knows that she can do well in that. Like she says,
Yeah, but can do well doesn't mean that that's what you want for yourself.
right? I guess,
And she would probably also feel like an outsider because she was. I mean, she has to live in the security guard tower.
But everybody,
The security guard's garden house.
but a lot of people join these files from the outside.
Yeah.
Like if she takes the oath, she's part of the group.
I know.
what was the oath? I was confused by that.
So I think in this particular file,
Like the New Victorian, she had to like
you
pledge
become a
allegiance.
subject of the queen or something
Yeah,
like that. That's kind of how I read that. But I
I
don't know.
felt that she would probably always feel like an outsider because she was the orphan that they took in and raised. And I think that's different than showing up when you're, 35 and you've made your way and learned your manners and all
she
that.
can also
and-
see through them now.
I just thought because she had
She saw the Matrix.
she had her primer GED, she could get a good job.
Well, I did wonder what her so I was thinking about that at some point. Was like, what are her prospects? So like in this kind of world, there probably aren't a lot of stores she could work at because you can make whatever you want. And there's like some tea houses, but how many are there?
Art stores, maybe the only thing to sell is
where are
sex.
people getting- that's
or,
what-
or
that's what-
artisan food.
Madam
Or
What's Her-
Ractives
and that's what
Entertainment.
that's what Madam What's Her Toes says when she gets her job is like there are two things. There's things and there's entertainment.
And generational wealth.
And
where you
things is kind of taken care of already, so there's really only entertainment.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
But surely they need like architects or doctors.
But she doesn't have a degree.
Well, I don't know if they have like colleges in that world where you have to have a PhD. I don't know. Maybe.
I just assumed she was like, this is not the place for me to live my life. I don't want to be a Victorian lady, and freaked out and ran. And
I think we spend so much time in our head, but I never know what she wants, I guess. Because she's always like solving problems.
Well, she's in survival mode for
she
so
is,
long.
yeah.
That's true.
So I think that's the first point where she's like, "Oh, I'm not in survival mode. I can go do whatever." And I feel kind of like Nell ended up living the life that Lord Finkel McGraw, whatever, was actually envisioning for Elizabeth.
Oh, absolutely.
He wanted
She
her.
was the only one who ended up doing what.
Yeah, he wanted her to
envisioned.
leave and go do something else and come back. That was the idea. Like, choose it instead of just going with it.
I wish we had more time with Nell in part 2.
Why the fuck did... I want to know what Miranda's doing.
Yeah.
Me too.
Miranda just disappears in part 2.
Did she go straight to the drummers?
Well, she met up with those two weird guys at that party and then disappeared. And I guess what they say later was that I think Hollywood explains at some point that, she went down to the drummers.
Because those men told her that there was a way to follow the, I think of it as like the blockchain. She could follow the blockchain to
Is
find.
it kind of like the Matrix? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like
I don't know,
she goes
man.
down there and suddenly if you have feelings, you can come around to a mathematical certainty just by having feelings with your neighbors or something like that.
I confess I had no idea.
I was so
what was
confused
going
by
on. There
that.
was
I
like
was
some
so
midsummer orgies.
Yeah.
I didn't like how there was someone described as a girl who got boned by a bunch of
why
men.
does Miranda have to go down and be the orgy
Also,
computer?
at
An
least
orgy's a
Miranda-
nice way of putting it. It's one woman and like 50 men.
But they're all okay.
The
go ahead.
first scene
I have a
is
lot of
girl
thoughts.
and 50 men.
and then she dies.
And then she self-destructs or whatever.
Yeah.
Because she's a computer now. And like, I was wondering how this whole idea would have been written differently if it had been written by a woman, because they talk about how these nanobots get exchanged through any fluid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You don't have to have sex to exchange these nanobots.
It's only P and V.
So why, except for JPH does say at one point that he got buggered.
He's like Uncle Baby Billy and Dusty Daniels.
But yeah, it was so obviously like fan service to young boys.
I mean, here's the thing. A woman would have been like, and they're all related.
Oops, clones.
It's 7
Matt
brothers
play.
and sisters.
Matt
Oh no, Matt play.
Oh, man, I
Okay,
have
we
so
are
many thoughts. This sucks.
We're at 53 minutes, so everybody choose a final thought for general discussion.
So many.
At one point, they talk about trickster technologists and
Trickster God.
they're like, oh, and also I love the language world building with equity lord and software cons. And it turns out that the founder of PayPal, who is like a big tech bro, friends with Elon Musk, this is one of his favorite books.
Oh,
I wanted to
I
talk
bet
about.
he doesn't understand it at all.
I want to talk about what everybody thinks their file would be. I have a list of things from the 90s that Neal thought would be a bigger deal. I have fairy tale stuff. I have you cannot stop crying because you're all fucked up psychologically, which frankly I really resonated with.
I liked that.
Are you of it or just in it? That's a good idea.
I'd probably work at a tea house.
I don't have an answer about files. I'm gonna pick.
Oh man, we didn't even talk about the boat party.
Fairy tale stuff.
Okay. Tequila, dead mother and evil stepmother.
Yep.
Miranda is the fairy godmother.
Yep.
JPH's ride through the Chinese interior basically reads like Princess Nell going through her like the landscape of her fairy tale primer.
Oh, okay.
And then the magical kiss at the end.
Oh, yeah.
And then there were like a couple other little things, but basically the whole book kind of reads like you're reading a primer. It's interesting. Yeah.
Magical kiss at the end is like the kiss at the end of This Is How You Lose the Time War.
Aw.
Oh, doesn't she bite her a little bit so she gets
she
the
does.
antibodies?
Yeah. You have to.
It's the same thing. It's the antibodies to the nanobots.
Yeah.
There's really only one book.
Oh, and my final thought was, so they're on the boat party, and JPH is having this conversation with this woman who's an actor, and at some point she's describing what's happening on the boat, and she says, the show reconfigures itself dynamically depending upon what happens moment to moment. I laughed out loud because the tech bros had just reverse engineered life,
Yeah.
just like living.
Yeah.
Anyway, I had so many questions about this book, never got answered, but that's okay.
You have so many answers. I'm very impressed.
I have
Yeah,
so many
me
questions
too.
that remain.
I'm going to get a C on this test.
so many
Hey,
questions.
see, it's still passing.
That's true.
Do you have a final thought you want to do?
No, that was it. Equity Lord, I think, is a really cool phrase. Oh, also, for people that like video games, this is like BioShock, which is like a kind of a steampunk video game.
Oh,
Okay.
my final thought is that I actually teared up at the army of little girls. I loved the idea of this sea of little girls.
That is nice.
Stabbing all these rapists. I thought it was great. However, However, it also reminded me of that scene from Game of Thrones where all the brown people lift Dany onto their shoulders. Because by then I didn't know that Nell was white.
It's very white.
Yeah, lift Dany onto their shoulders, and the camera pans out to the sea of brown people carrying this very white dot of their savior in the middle. And so it felt like that to me. But also the idea of an army of little girls all working together.
That is nice.
I honestly did tear up.
And then they become a new file.
Oh, Amy.
Yes.
I knew I had some fairy tale thing and I couldn't remember it. I lolled at Nell and Carl deliberately not eating any of the drummer's food because it's just like the rules of if you find yourself in fairy and you eat something, you're never coming
It's
back
like
out.
Alice in Wonderland, right?
This is fair. Yeah, or just general fairy rules.
This could also explain my lack of comprehension. I am fey blind, so
I thought about how you were like,
I was like, how do y'all know about fairies? Jesus.
you were like, especially if it's spelled F-A-E. I thought about when I wrote the note and spelled it F-A-E. I was like, oh, Haley will
Just
hate
the idea of there being like an underground society, you have to go down and defeat them and then come back up and you have to do like there's a bunch in here that's very fairy tale.
What they said they were underwater. Were they actually underwater?
Yeah.
Literally underwater.
Like breathing water?
No, they have
there are
tunnels.
Oh, okay. That's I was
and
confused by
caves
that.
and
Yeah.
tubes.
Ugh, it's like I recently watched The Descent for the first time.
Oh, going down there, I just realized it's kind of like from the Odyssey when he goes to the island. Was it Circe that
Circe's
he
island?
loses time when he's with her?
Yeah, he's gone for like 5 years.
Something like that.
It must smell so bad down there.
What are they eating? Where are they pooping? What are they doing all the time? Like, are they just having sex? What's happening?
Yeah, like
So
you
many
can't
questions
have
about
sex
the drummers.
24 hours a day.
And like, do all of them not understand what's happening in the real world?
You know that it smells like butthole.
Do you think they? Oh, never
Maybe they have
mind.
really good ventilation.
Okay. Pony Prattle, meet the Chevaline, a mechanical horse. I love it. It's like an e-bike, but
They
a
sounded
horse.
really
Yeah.
cool.
And you can fold it up and carry it like a little briefcase.
Yep. And sometimes they wear a little bowler hat.
Sometimes they do. Okay.
And centaurs and real horses.
And there are centaurs and real horses. But the centaurs are,
Just that one.
it's like created for
Just
the
an
little
AI
carnival
centaur.
island.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. It's not like a guy. Feminist favorite?
Mine is the idea of the Freedom Machine, which is a nanocyte that lives in your womb and catches eggs and eats them as a form of birth control.
Hell
Nice. I had 3 very small ones. I think my favorite one, for some reason, was when they're on the boat party and JPH is flying around with his God vision and he sees his daughter and she goes, I don't want you to watch me like that. And, and then like evicts him.
Yeah.
I was like, hell yeah, boundary queen. Let's go.
Mhm.
I had other ones, but that was for some reason, that one I liked a lot, that image.
My main one was the army of little girls
Yeah.
absolutely routing the righteous fists. But I also like when Nell beats up Kevin the bully.
Yes.
Yeah, that is nice.
Of course,
I liked that too.
then that turns into other bad things happening to these poor children. Justice for Nell and Harv. But yeah, I like that. And he never saw it coming and she whooped his ass.
I also generally liked people in this book seeing the worth of saving young girls.
Yeah, that's
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Well, but then of course Dr. X is like, I'm not sure if we should have done that. And Hackworth
Because
is
they
like,
became powerful.
well, and Hackworth is like, pardon? He's like, why did I spend 10 years in the butthole sex dungeon?
This is a whole nother thing I wanted to talk about, like because they talk about Percival putting something in those primers that the people who hired him wouldn't have liked, and he remembers it when he sees the woman who had the bound feet, and he's
Yeah.
like, "I'm glad I did what I did with those primers, but I don't know what he did.
Well, I
He
think
did something radical in there, but we don't know what it is."
people on the internet were like, he was supposed to make primers just to like raise wives, basically. And I think he made these kind of awesome girls in STEM workbooks.
I wondered if it was connecting them to Nell's primer or connecting
Oh, I
it to
think
the
they
other
watched
primers.
Nell's primer. I
Yeah.
think they were passively watching what was happening in Nell's primer. And because Nell used her primer constantly, there was just this constant flow of
Interesting.
watching the Nell show. And that's why
So it's
she's
like-
their queen.
Surface level, what they asked, but then they had the ability to see Nell's or something.
Well, and they said that he explained that the primer was driven by Raptors. And he was like, I assume that we can't accomplish that on this scale.
Oh, so he
And
connected
he was
with
like,
her.
and they were like, well, is there something we can do? And he was like, yeah, there's something we can do. And I think it was left unsaid, but my assumption was that that they were passively watching Nell's adventures.
That's fun.
And that's why she became their queen, that they were all like,
Oh.
we've got to find Princess Nell. And you're right that the different books are all connected in some way. So her stories and their participation kind of combine toward the end, and they're the little mouse army. And then she realizes the mouse army is actually 1 million little girls.
So they must be doing something on their own, because there was that one mouse that shows up in her book that was clearly doing something she didn't know about and then went off and she didn't know what happened to it. So I'm wondering if like someone made a little incursion into her book, but they have their own interconnected books too.
I
That's
hope
how they
they-
end up in Army.
I hope they're also still learning about self-worth and whatnot, not just
I
watching
mean, I
her.
think they learned that from watching her, though.
But
I mean, it's like reading a novel. I think they basically all read one really long, really interesting novel where a little girl is the hero.
Yeah.
Something has to be happening in theirs too, otherwise they wouldn't be a cohesive army. Like they have to learn those fighting techniques that she didn't learn. They have to learn like battalions.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, and I think the interactivity is a key part of it. Because there's lots of books that can teach people how to.
But these books also change based on your environment. So
That's true.
there's something about the way they were living that made the book teach them how to be a cohesive unit.
That's true.
Absolutely.
Anyway, that was it.
They were taking tape. They didn't know it.
they were taking tape.
And you never know. I mean, maybe because Dr. X's end game is the Celestial Kingdom, maybe he trained them to be fighters. And then they were like, by the way, fuck you. We're good at fighting. We're going to go find Queen Nell. Who knows? We don't know. But I think that the bulk of what the books were doing for them was showing them Nell's story.
And then when she turns the mouse army into real people in her primer, but it's written in real world font. And so I was wondering
It's
if
so confusing.
that meant like something in their primers.
I don't know what you
told
mean by
them,
real world font.
So there's the primer font and the real world
I don't
font.
have that.
Oh, really? Oh, man, how did you ever know what was what then?
Because there would be a title, and if it said Princess Nell, I knew it was.
The font changed.
Maybe I just.
Yeah, like the plot was in serif font, and then
So this is primer font.
yeah,
Hold on.
and then it's
Maybe I just didn't see.
and it would be sans serif when it
So
was.
this is primer font.
So yeah, it looks like more computery.
And then this is real world font. So there were some things that happened that she was talking about the primer, but it happened in real world
Yep.
font. And then
Even when she was escaping from the house, that first
And then
time.
some of
No,
the-
look, mine's all the same.
Oh,
Because that top part is real world and the bottom part is primer.
interesting.
oh no.
Yeah.
Well,
Also, girl, that font is like 6.
I know. I'm like, I can't read that.
I know. I can't deal with the page count. This was 712 pages with that tiny font.
So the font difference, the only reason I'm bringing this up is because the font difference makes it very clear that something happens with those girls in real life when
Yeah.
she releases the mouse.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
But so
Yeah, because like I'd be
Interesting.
yeah. Multiple times I'd be reading. I'd be like, "Is this in real life or not?"
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's interesting. I didn't know.
Yep.
For the listener, if you don't see different fonts, you're supposed to. Okay. Misogynist moment.
Use of the word "girl flesh" as one word,
Oh, Lord.
Flesh.
and I don't care if even if a bad character says it. That's fucking.
I
gross.
don't
I don't remember that. I think I blocked that out.
I mentioned my two big ones about the constable and Hackworth both being like, I'm horny for my daughter.
Yeah.
So I will go with when Judge Fang lulls at Tequila's name. And that is really a thing that happens. Like, you know, elites looking down their noses at people.
You can't help your name.
Yeah.
Of all the ones that I wanted to talk about, I think the one I'm going to pick is the fact that JP comes out of the drummer circle. He shows up having been gone for 10 years and just takes his daughter away from Gwen. And it's presented in this very weird way where Gwen is supposed to be the bad guy in this situation. And she straight up raised this girl on her own for 10 years. I was very upset about that.
I didn't think she was being a bad guy.
I was upset with that portrayal.
She just kept saying, "Thank you for telling me that."
Yeah, and like
Thank you for telling me
And
that.
her thoughts are like Gwen kept acting like she didn't understand. It's like, well, of course you didn't understand. You're not telling her anything. And then Fiona just leaves with deadbeat dad, and Gwen is I don't know. I hated that scene.
Yeah, that was purely to move the plot forward.
Yeah.
I didn't like it.
It was a real failure of communication, too, because he really wasn't being a deadbeat. But there's no way for her to understand that without without 700 pages of explanation. There's no way for her to understand that.
My follow-up one is, I understand that Nell has to get the nanobots, but I don't know why Nell has to get the nanobots by being raped.
Yeah.
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 She could have just,
Why did
they
she-
could have spit on
She
her.
could have just had a boyfriend.
They could have spit on her.
They could have done it like a run an injector with a needle or something.
I really.
Or when they tied her up through sweat.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Anybody have boob talk?
There's some pert breasts.
There's some good penis parade in the drummer's circle. The only thing I really noticed was when someone mentions that Fiona doesn't have the curves that make life interesting, and someone else talks about the modern ideal of a 22-inch waist and no more than 17% body fat. I was just like, Christ
Okay.
almighty.
Okay.
But the penis parade with the glow-in-dark condoms was pretty great.
Yeah.
That
Cutting
sounds
the
funny.
tips.
It was funny. It was objectively
funny.
funny.
Fantastical food. McWhorter's original
McWhorter's original condiment.
Why is it so good?
It's funny because the first 8 ingredients seem like enough. So I just didn't understand why we needed to add the autumn leaves, the asbestos, the dynamite.
Guinness stout fermentation dregs.
I really like this part. Nitrates, nitrites, nitrotes, and nitrutes, nutrites, natrotes, powdered pork nose hairs, dynamite, activated charcoal, so on.
Smoked beef lymph nodes.
And natural flavoring at the end.
I love it.
But this led me to the brown sauce Wikipedia article, which is great. Everybody should go read it. And it also, TV Tropes had it listed under Blazing Inferno Hellfire Sauce, which is also a really good entry. I also wrote down the House of the Venerable and Inscrutable Colonel for
There's a whole
fantastical
section
food.
about Kentucky Fried Chicken.
And I drank a lot of tea reading this book, so.
Yeah, that was very funny.
I liked sipping green tea from a jumbo McDonald's cup. And then have you ever had the smoky Chinese tea?
Oh, yes.
So it's China, smoky like the dregs of 100 million pots of Lapsang Souchong.
Yeah.
That was cool.
And that tea is so good. I had some. It was in a free thing of tea that someone, I think, sent us as a gift in my last job. And I remember I was like, oh, I'll try this. And then I was like, oh my God, it tastes like barbecue chips.
It's literally dried over open flames.
It's
I've never
so
had
good.
it. I'll try it. I'll go find some.
It really is like eating barbecue chips. I loved it.
Someone text me the name.
Lapsang Souchong. Yeah, and I can't drink it because it tastes just like fire, but some people like it.
I like scotch, so maybe I'll like
Yeah,
tea.
it's very
Oh,
very
yeah.
peaty.
Okay. Soap stuff.
10-year drummer amnesia?
Yep. I mean, pick a page.
Yeah.
Haley, do you have any?
Oh no.
The coincidences with the book in real life when things happen before they happen in real life. So, for example, the book teaching her about stranger danger, and then immediately thereafter, a stranger tries to lure her off the beach while Harv is asleep. And she's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I just learned not to do this, so I'm not going to go.
I wonder if it has radar and it was like, oh, there's a tall man.
The book is like, a man is nearby. Teach her about strangers.
I was also wondering if like Miranda understood she was on the streets, and so.
Yeah, she'd never been out of her house,
Yeah.
basically. But it was the timing of it was.
But also Harv dying the way he died, and then dying that way in real life was the big one for me. Like, had it know.
yeah, I wonder if do you think she tells it? Maybe she does.
But he died in the book before they even left the house. Like the very first thing she reads is that Princess Nell went out into the world, got her 12 keys, came back, and Harv was dead.
No. That was a summary. He doesn't die until, remember, she's looking for the 12 keys and he dies,
no.
but that's like way after.
No, I know, but she's told he dies in the very beginning
Uh-huh. Oh, I see what
after
you're
she
saying.
leaves and comes back.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I'm not sure that I knew the book was telling her that on account of I don't have fonts.
Yeah.
I think that was just, I thought that was like the book jacket
You need to read it
summary.
again with some fonts. Your
I
whole
am
mind's gonna explode.
Absolutely not going to read it again. And on that subject, did we like the book?
I did.
Yeah.
The parts that I understood.
Yeah, I definitely had quibbles, but I liked it.
The
I
first
also
half is
did.
great.
I really liked it. I was surprised. This is another book that I think I probably would not have finished but for the podcast. But when I really got into it, it was very engrossing, very immersive.
Yeah.
I am not, like we talked about earlier, not being particularly visual in imagining things. But as far as like the places, I usually cannot picture a place. And in this, I was like, I know right where I am. I know everything that's on the shelf.
Yeah.
I know what's in every jar. I don't
tells you.
necessarily need to know that, but
My favorite settings included Constable Moore's house.
Yeah.
I love the way you described that. The court where they tried JPH was really good. I felt like Nell's apartment situation was pretty well described, even though you don't really know what it looks like inside, but it's very, very much grounded you in a place.
Nell's apartment is
it.
the Andor safe house apartment on Coruscant.
yes. Except for
And
not safe.
that
The
leads
opposite of
us
safe.
to, is it Star Wars or Lord of the Rings?
I can't explain this, but the vibes for me are Lord of the Rings.
It's a fairy tale.
I agree with that. Yeah, all the fairy tale stuff.
Lightsabers are specifically mentioned in this book, and therefore we know that it exists in the same universe as Star Wars, and therefore it's Star Wars.
I forgot to mention that because I absolutely was like, oh my God, she 3D printed a lightsaber.
Which, when Carl Hollywood is running to making his break for the coast, somebody's weapon is described as a lightsaber.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even remember that.
Her weapon was a sonic screwdriver, so
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought it was a lightsaber.
To me, the new Victorian pastoral vibes just give me like Shire.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
you're
And all the
definitely not
fairy
wrong.
tale vibes. I think that's right. I agree. Okay,
We did it.
we did it. The book for next month will be Red Shirts by John Scalzi.
Whoop whoop. Squirrelsy.
Squirrel.
I think it's just Scalzi.
Scalzi. Scalzi,
Been
right?
corrected.
The squirrels.
But I think it's Scalzi.
I think it's Scalzi too.
he has a pronunciation guide on his website.
What's the alternative? Scalzi?
Scalzi.
That's
I
very.
think it's Scalzi.
Yeah. John Scalzi.
You know, if I ever meet him, I'm gonna be like, bro, please speak into this recorder and say your name.
I bet we could find a YouTube video of him being like, I'm
I
John
think I did. I mean, I think I like at one point did look it up on YouTube, and it's Scalzi.
Yeah.
Scalzi.
Scalzi.
Some people may pronounce it Scalzi,
Scalzi. That's even
but
different.
Scalzi is the pronunciation the author, John Scalzi, himself prefers, according to this AI overview.
That's, well, you know that will say any shit.
Yeah.
But I do think that's right. Anyway, thanks. Like you guys.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
We'll see you at Worldcon.
Whoop whoop. Bye.
You go, girl. You go, girl. You go, girl. A hilarious podcast.
Hi, I'm John Scalzi.